Okay, so in Tanya and Perek Dalid, we're on page 126 on top, 236 at the bottom. Okay, so last week we learned what the Alter Rebbe quoted the Zohar on the pasuk Nafshi Ivisicha. I desire you are my soul. I desire you at night. Okay, what does that mean? The Zohar says. The Zohar says what a person is supposed to think is Nafshi, that God, because you are my life, therefore Ivisicha Balayla, I desire you at night. It's not that my soul, I desire you at night. If it's my soul, why do I desire it? It's yours. So the Zohar says what the pasuk actually means is that nafshi, we're telling Hashem, because Hashem, you are my soul, you are my existence. Therefore, just like a person loves himself, he loves his life. And then he says there's even a greater level. Like a child who loves the parents more than he even loves himself. So the first concept of this love is, I love Hashem because he is me. And I love me. So the second level, the Alter Rebbe says, even a greater level than that is, I love Hashem more than I love myself. Like a child who will give up his life for the sake of the parents. Okay, so this is we're up to now. And he says like this. We're going to start 5 lines in the top of the page of 126. So he says, this is what you have to keep thinking about and knocking it into your head, this concept of Hashem is my existence. And then he says, if you always do this, it becomes your nature. So now the Alter Rebbe says, what happens if a person says, come on, this is all fake? I'm going to convince myself that Hashem is my life and I love Hashem as much as I love myself, or even more than myself. He says, even though it might be apparent to the person, that it's an illusion. Am I going to convince myself that I love Yiddishkeit more than I love myself? Come on. So he said a person can think, I want to be real. And this is not real. He says, Lo yichosh. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about these false illusions that you might think that it's a fake. Why not? It is real truth. The natural love of Hashem that a Jew has inheritance from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, for that level of me, it's real. For me, that's real. Even though outwardly, I don't feel it. Outwardly, I'm trying to talk myself into it. But the Alter Rebbe says, don't worry about it. Because in reality, it's real. What do you mean it's real? So we learned many times, to explain the concept. There's a concept in the Gemara, we learned it many times. It's such fundamental Rambam that the Rebbe always would quote. There's by certain things, the Rambam talks about it by divorces, there's by korbanos, different parts of Yiddishkeit. The Gemara has an expression, what happens if a person is supposed to do something? Like the Gemara, the Rambam over there is talking, a guy halachically has to divorce his wife, and he doesn't want to. So what does the Gemara say you do? Kaifin Aisei, mean you force him, Bezdin forces him, until he says, I want to. Simple English means you beat him up until he says, I want to. That's what the Gemara says. So the Rambam asks the question, the guy wants to. What do you mean guy wants? He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to get beat up. So when he says, I want to, that's a lie. He doesn't want to. If they wouldn't beat him up, he wouldn't do it. So why is the good Torah say, when he says, I want, okay, now it's good. So the Rambam says this, and he says like this. The reality is every single Jew wants to do what's right, according to Torah. Yitzrei hara ansai. His Yetzer hara is forcing him to go against the real nature and will of the Jew. The Rambam says a statement. The will of a Jew is to do what Hashem wants. That's reality. This that the Yetzer hara is coming and tells him don't do it, that's an external force that's not really me. So when Bezdin beats up this guy, when they're supposed to beat him up, and they beat him up, and the guy says, yes, I want to, that's the real Jew. What you're beating up, in essence, is the external force of the Yetzer hara, which is not the person, which is trying to convince him to do something he shouldn't be doing. The same thing over here, the Alter Rebbe says. The reality is a person, a Jew, realizes Hashem is my existence. And therefore, I love Hashem as myself, or as the second level, even more than myself. It's an illusion. He said, but that's not reality. Reality is the Avamis of text. So he says, but I have to reveal this hidden love to make it open. It helps this taking it out into revealing it, which brings it to action. Meaning, he says, if this love is enough, and Dr. Rebbe said this before also, if this love is enough to get you to do a mitzvah, that is called the love is open and revealed. Even though it's not really, I don't really feel Hashem is me. I don't, the reality is I don't feel it. But if this understanding that Hashem is me, even though it's not really, even though he says it's real because the neshama really feels like that, but the fact that it gets me to do a mitzvah, that shows it's out in the open. If I wouldn't love Hashem at all, I wouldn't do any mitzvah. So he says, therefore, it's real. Don't worry about it. And he does it to do it something nice that Hashem wants. Like a child that does something for his father to have nachas from him or to be happy with him. So that's what this av is. What this av is enough. So he says a person has to convince himself. He says, talk to yourself, convince yourself that nafshi ibisicha balayla, that my love that I have to Hashem is because Hashem is my existence. And I love Hashem as much as I love myself, or even more than I love myself. It's not real. He said it is real. First of all, the neshama understands it. The neshama feels that. Secondly, it brings you to do a mitzvah. What happens when you do a mitzvah? Hashem is nachas ruach. Hashem is happy. So therefore you accomplish a tremendous thing with this ava. Concerning this, the Chazal tell us, Chazal tell us, a good thought, Hashem combines and united to a deed. Lias Gatman to be wings, leparcha to fly, like he spoke about before. Let me explain this. Ava and Yira, love and fear, I'll try to explain throughout all these chapters in Tanya, are the wings. Ava is the right wing, Chesed on the right side, Gvura on the left side. Ava is Chesed, Yira is Gvura. The person does the actual mitzvah. You put on tefillin, you like ben shlich, whatever the mitzvah is. That is the body of the mitzvah. The body of the mitzvah is done, is kosher. You fulfilled your obligation. But in order for the mitzvah to fly up to a higher world, that you should be connected to a higher level of godliness, a bird needs wings. So even though, like we learned, if you clip the wings, you cut off the wings of the bird's still kosher, you can shecht it, you can eat it, it's not called a blemish. Nevertheless, the bird can't fly. So it says over here, the Gemara says an expression, machshava teva, a good thought, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa lemaisa. God unites it and connects it. See what means connecting it to action. That doesn't mean, the Gemara doesn't say, if I thought about putting on tefillin, it's like putting on tefillin. It's not. The Gemara says that if you have a good thought, Hashem combines it to the mitzvah. What does that mean? You put on tefillin. Okay? Now, I had a thought. I'm doing it because I want to connect to Hashem. Even though that's not the real love and fear that would elevate the bird fly high, because it's not real, so to speak. But the Gemara says, if you have a little concept, you convinced yourself, I'm doing it because I want to make Hashem happy. And that aspect of it you feel. I'm doing a mitzvah because I want to connect to Hashem. I'm not talking about loving a mitzvah, tefillin, like you love a good pizza meat, or a good ice cream, or good chocolate, or whatever. Okay, that's ideally. By tzaddikim that serve Hashem with love and fear, their real love is not food. Their real love, their excitement is doing a mitzvah. That's because they love and fear Hashem. In reality, they really feel the love and fear of Hashem, and therefore they love it. They want to connect themselves to Hashem. We're not on that level. But if a person says, I want to do a mitzvah because this is the right thing to do, Hashem wants me to do it, then I'm going to do it. So Hashem connects that thought and makes it like Ava and Yira for real, that makes you fly high. That's what Hashem does for us. Anochas Ruach, and what does it mean? The Anochas Ruach, the above mentioned, making Hashem feel good. Commercial, what does it do to Hashem? It says like this. Commercial Simchas HaMelech, like the joy of the king, the B'nai Sheba Elav, of the prince, the son of the king, that comes to him, what happens if the kid is in jail? The prince is in jail. And now he comes home. You can imagine the simcha that the father has from the mere fact that the kid got out of a jail. And where is he coming? He's coming home. He could have gone somewhere else. You can imagine the simcha that is Bnei Yechida, his only son, only one prince, was in captivity, and he got out, and now he comes home to the king. He's not on the highest of levels, but what did he do? He got out of jail and he came to the king. He said that's how Hashem looks at every Jew whenever they do a mitzvah. The Rebbe says, you are in captivity by the body, by the Yetzer Hara that doesn't want you to do it. They don't want you to do the mitzvah. They don't want you to be connected to Hashem. They really do, by the way. The Gemara says that the Satan, Pnina, and Yetzer Hara, L'Shem Shemayim Niskavnu. The Yetzer Hara doesn't want a person to sin. They really don't want the person to sin. What do they want to do? The Yetzer Hara is created by Hashem. They have a Shem Shemayim. Their role is to do it, to make Hashem feel good. What do? They try to convince a person to sin down deep, wanting that they shouldn't sin. Like Dr. Rebbe quoted before at the end of Parak Yud, the mashal the Zohar gives of the Yetzer Hara Zaina, the prostitute that the king wanted to test the morals of his son. He hired a prostitute to convince him to sin. So the reality is the prostitute doesn't want him to sin. He's a prince. But she has to bring out the greatness of the morals of the son. So what does she do? She puts on all her charm. She tries to do everything possible that this prince should sin with her, down deep hoping that he doesn't sin. And that's what the Yetzer Hara is. So the reality is the Yetzer Hara really doesn't even want us to sin. And the Rebbe told somebody, I told you many times, the Rebbe told a friend of mine in Yechidus, was a wild kid. the Rebbe said to him, you should know that your Yetzer Hara itself is laughing at you. How foolish you are that you listen to it. That's what the Rebbe said. Your own Yetzer Hara is laughing at you. How do I know it? He told it to me. So Yetzer, but when the king sees that a Jew does a mitzvah, and this Jew was in captivity by the world, by the body, by the Yetzer Hara, and yet the Jew goes out of prison to do a mitzvah to Hashem, it's a tremendous simcha. It's a tremendous joy. Or he does it to have a dwelling place for Hashem down here. He says, therefore, he says like this. Gam lebechinas nafshi v'sicha now. This level that he said before, nafshi, that Hashem, you are my life, and therefore I desire you, I want to be with you. This is Kare Vadava Ma'id. It's very easy. To reveal it from the hidden to the revealed. If a person keeps convincing himself in the heart, in his feelings, and in speech, he convinces himself that really, and if you think about it, what is our existence if not Hashem? Is our existence not dependent on Hashem? 1 minute we're here, 1 minute we're not here. It's all up to Hashem. It's not up to anything else. Not nobody else and nothing else. It's all up to Hashem. So if a person thinks 1 minute, what's giving me my life? Who allows me to move? To wake up in the morning. There's certain people, God forbid, don't wake up in the morning. A person wakes up in the morning. Who's waking up in the morning? Who's giving the ability to walk, talk, eat, to do whatever? It's Hashem. He says, what happens if you can't reveal it? You're not capable. Ideally, you have to reveal it, and now the Rebbe says it's very easy to do it. What happens if you can't? You could still do Torah mitzvahs properly. How? By at least thinking about it. You can't feel that Hashem is my existence. But I could think that, you know what? When I learn Torah, what am I doing? I'm connecting to Hashem. I want to make Hashem happy. Nachas ruach. By the way, we said this many. Hashem doesn't pat himself on the back when we do a mitzvah and say, hey, guys, another sucker, listen to me. I mean, God is not interested in, he's doing it for us. He's doing it. Hashem, by definition, is God, whether we do the mitzvah or not, whether we exist or not, or whatever it is. Hashem himself doesn't get better or worse or more God, less God. Hashem is Humashu. He is what he is. Hashem is doing it for our favor, that the neshama, by coming down into this world, which is golus, captivity, and yet the neshama is doing Torah mitzvahs, that Alter Rebbe says is the nachas ruach of the Hashem, shamarti v'na'aseh v'tzeini. I told you to do it, and you did it. That's a tremendous satisfaction by Hashem. And a person should think to himself, that's why I'm doing the mitzvah. And ideally, the way Chassidus explains, many people say, okay, you know what, I'm doing it, and Halavai, we should have that issue. Many people say, oh, you know, I'm doing a mitzvah, I'm going to go to Gan Eden. I'm going to get a front seat in Gan Eden, you know, closer to the beach. I'm going to get a beautiful view in Gan Eden. That's not the real reason we're doing mitzvahs, because then I'm doing it for me. Ideally, why should I do a mitzvah? Because Hashem wants me to do it. I don't care. That's why I'm doing it, because that's what he wants. He's the boss. I'm doing it. And the person keeps convincing, you don't have to convince yourself it's there, you just have to reveal it by convincing yourself that Hashem is my existence and I love him more than I love myself. And therefore, whatever he wants, I'm going to do. Even though you don't feel that level, But he says intellectually you can understand that Hashem is my existence, and I'm doing this not for me, but what's in it for me. That expression that people always use when you ask somebody for a favor or do something. In America, there's an expression, what's in it for me? That's what people like to ask, what's in it for me? That means you're not doing it because you want to be a nice person for that person. You're doing it because I want to be a good person. I'm going to get something out of it. You're going to owe me one. You're going to owe me one. And that's not the real way of doing it. Ideally, spouses in a marriage don't do things for each other because they expect something in return. You do it because you love your spouse, so you want to do it for them, even if you get nothing in return. And where do you see this the most, by the way? Any parent, okay? Any parent that does things for their kids, meaning you don't sleep and you go carpools and this and you go crazy, yeah? If you think that until they get married and have their own kids, you're going to get reciprocation for it, pleasant dreams. It's not happening. Okay? When they get married and they have their own kids, then they will appreciate what you did for them. Then they'll appreciate it. Until then, no, it's not going to be reality, and it's called reality. But when a Jew does it for Hashem, a Jew doesn't say what's in it for me. Not even what's in it for me as far as Gan Eden goes. Friday, tomorrow night is Alter Rebbe's Yartzeit, Chav Dalet Tevis. Right, 24th of Tevis is Alter Rebbe's Yartzeit. The Alter Rebbe said, and the pasuk, V'im cholei chafatzti. The Alter Rebbe said in Yiddish, Ich will nicht dein Gan Eden, ich will nicht dein Olam Haba, ich will dich allein. The Alter Rebbe said, I don't want your Gan Eden, I don't want your Olam Haba, I want you. What do you mean I want you? Gan Eden Olam Haba is my reward. That's still me. I'm still doing something. Here I'm doing it for Hashem. And by the way, we discussed this a while ago at the end of the first parak. The Alter Rebbe quoted the Gemara that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai said that all the good that the nations of the world do, the gamayu of them, they only do it for themselves. They only do it for themselves, so it's not real good. Okay? So the Rebbe asked, but there are people that do good. So the Rebbe explains two things. Number one, if they're really like that, they're Chassidik U'Masa'il, they're righteous guy. They also have a Cheluk in Olam Haba, in Gan Eden. But the Rebbe explains there are different reasons why people do favors for somebody else or a kind act to somebody else. Even very nice people, good people, they will do a favor for somebody else. Why? Because I want to be a good person. And a good person is one that helps other people out. He's not self-centered. I want to be a good person. The definition of a good person is doing somebody a favor. The Rebbe explains that's not the ultimate good, because you're still doing it that I should be a good person. What happens if you're going to get hurt by doing that favor? Then you might not do it. If you're going to have to risk your life to do a favor, no, because I still come first. I want to be a good person by doing you a favor, but not at the expense of against me. What is the ultimate good? The Rebbe explains what the Alter Rebbe means. Is you do good, but not because I want to be a good person. You do good because good needs to be done. Nothing to do with me. Therefore, if it means risking my life, I'll risk my life. If it means I'll lose out by doing it, I'll lose out by doing it. But it's that's ultimate good. Now, the Rebbe is saying, I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your Olam Haba. I only want you. The Rebbe is saying, and for us, we heard it. I mean, not from the Rebbe. I don't think anybody's that old. But the Rebbe said it over in the name of the Rebbe. That what do? We do it because Hashem wants it. Like he says, a child does it to the parents because not because I want to do it, because the parents need it, want it. I want to make them happy. I want to create a dira b'tachtainim, a dwelling place for Hashem in this world by doing Torah mitzvahs. So what happens when I do something good to Hashem for a mitzvah? I'm bringing Hashem down into the world. And he says, Umachshava teva, okay, 8 lines in the end of the page. Umachshava teva, Kadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa. And this good thought, Hashem, like we said, combines it to the action, that the action now has wings and makes it fly up. And he says now, Vine beis bechinas avos elu, these 2 levels of love. And like yourself, or more than yourself, avshen yerusha lanu me'avisenu, even though it's inheritance from, it's not our doing, it's inheritance from our forefathers. Ukmei teva ben avshen, therefore it's like the nature is ingrained in our soul. We just have his inheritance. V'chein hayira haklulu behem, the same thing, not only love, fear also. And the same thing, fear. What is fear? Fear is, love means, what's the difference between love and fear? I'm not talking about love and fear. Love means, I want to be connected to you. I love you, I want to be connected to you. I want to become one with you. We said many times, the word in Hebrew for love is ahava, aleph hey beis hey. It's numerically 13, which is the same numerical value as the word echad, aleph ches dalid. So therefore, ahava means, like we said many times, what is I love you? What does it mean? Really not fake. Ahava means I want to be one with you. That's the definition of love. So ahava means I want to do things to connect to you. Yira is the opposite. I don't want to be separated from you. Love, Dr. Rabbi said earlier in Tanya, is the source of all positive mitzvahs. Why am I doing the positive mitzvah? Whether it's tefillin, davening, licht, whatever the mitzvah is. Why am I doing it? Because mitzvah means binding and connection. I want to put on tefillin because I love you. I want to connect to you, Hashem. I want to light Shabbos candles because I want to connect to you, Hashem. Fear is the source of negative mitzvahs. This is what the Alter Rebbe says. Why is it fear the source of negative mitzvahs? What does fear mean? Awe. Awe, not fear is I'm going to hit me with a belt. Awe, yira means awe, and fear means I don't want to be separated from you. If I eat chazer and I do what I'm not allowed to do, that action separates me from you, Hashem. And that I don't want to do. So Ava means I want to be connected to you. Yira means fear of Hashem means I don't want to be disconnected from you. So they're both connected, Ava and Yira. But he says, yeah, I don't want to be separated. Avinu v'chayenu amiti are real, the source of our existence. Alpha became nevertheless, they're still not called natural instinctive love. Okay, it's getting late, so I'll say very briefly outside. These are this love and fear that I don't want to separate, I want to be connected. The fact that they come out, it's not only intellectual. The fact that they come out into an action shows that it's revealed. It's not natural anymore. I'm doing something. And sometimes it's difficult for me to do it. Sometimes it's difficult for me to get up early to come to shul, or to break away from business, go daven mincha, or if I'm in a place where there's no kosher food, to keep kosher food when it's difficult. That action actually reveals. It's not natural anymore. It's the revelation of the natural. Okay, we're going to leave it here. Everybody have a good Shabbos. Shabbos Mevarchim. Mitzvah Monday night, 8 o'clock will be Parsha. Hopefully we'll see you then. Until then, everybody have a great week. We should hear good news all around the world.